Well, since the weather's getting warmer and I'm not wearing a jacket anymore, there's always the conundrum of what do I do with my keys and my phone when I'm walking? Well, here's the answer. These are old leggings that have a hole in the knee, and instead of tossing them, I thought I would try to upcycle them. And I did this with another item of clothing and found it incredibly useful. So these are my leggings, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the bottom half, the leg part of the leggings, and here they are. And I'm going to use the bottom part for the pockets, and I'm going to sew those onto the sides. Now, I had been contemplating, how do I make an apron or some kind of a belt that I can wear that is not going to flop around with my keys and my phone if I choose to take my phone with me. And at first I thought about making an apron, and then I thought, no, well, that's going to flop around and it's too much work. And I just didn't really think it would work. And so one day I was riding my bike with my smart wool padded skirt that has these pockets on the sides. And I thought, hey, wait a minute. I could make something like this that would just slip over my whatever I'm wearing, pants or shorts, and that has pockets in it, that doesn't weigh a lot and isn't heavy weight, so it's not too hot. And so this is what I came up with, and I have to say I really love the way this turned out. So I'm going to trim off the bottom and try to make it a little more even though, in the end it really didn't matter that was even. And, if I felt like I wanted to spend more time on it, I could also put some kind of a trim onto the bottom. There was a pair of pants that I turned into a skirt, and I put trim around the bottom, and it looked really cute. So here's my bottom of the legging cut off. This makes a perfect pocket. And what I didn't count on it's actually two pockets, because it's the part that's between the legging and the pants, and then it's also the inside of the legging. So I'm pinning that in place, and sewing on a knit is always a little tricky. You definitely would want to use a sewing needle that's on your sewing machine that's specifically for knits. Did I do it? No. Too lazy to change the needle. So I used the regular needle. And before I sewed on the machine, because it's a knit and it really moves around a lot, and it's just kind of hard to sew a knit, for me at least, on a sewing machine, I think I have to adjust the tension, which I'm just too lazy to do it for something like this. So I just used the tension that I had and the sewing needle that was in the sewing machine. So I'm basting this on. Now, I know that this is probably considered old-fashioned and people just pin things. I hate sloppy sewing. And also the pins, if your sewing needle lands on it, ruins the sewing needle. I just don't think it's a good way to sew. So I basted things on. And so I basted both of the pockets on before sewing. And then I take the pins out before I put it in the machine. And I have just an old-fashioned Singer sewing machine. It's not super old-fashioned, but it's probably like 20 years old. And I'm really surprised at how the quality of, everything has gone down. But I recently bought a new home sewing machine for my classes, which is a really good sewing machine, but I can't believe how cheap all of the components are compared to the one that I have. So here I'm finishing up my basting, and I cannot wait to see how this turns out. So this is the other side, and I'm just pinning these on the side. So here's my sewing that I did. I put the machine on a very slight zigzag stitch, just so it's slightly zigzagged. That's why my mother always taught me when you're sewing a knit. And here's one of the pockets, and here's the other one, and I'm just pulling out the basting stitch, and I know I sewed over it in one place here, but it all came out rather easily, so I can't wait to try this out to see how it works. I have like a fanny pack that I use, but I hate it. It flops around and it's just kind of cumbersome. Here it is! Voila! My leggings turned into a skirt. Here's my keys. They don't flop around. Perfect. And I'm using my phone to make this video, so here's my wallet. Perfect. Voila! Thank you for watching. See you next time.